let's create our first app. This app is very similar to the VaultList sample in the SDK, but there will be a few differences. If you want to follow along with the exact code, you can download it from the additional materials section. I'll start by opening Visual Studio and creating a new project. I'm guessing most of you are VB programmers, so I will create a VB.NET application. I'm sure that you C programmers out there will be able to follow along. Now I'm ready to add my references. To do that, I'll browse to the SDK folder and add references to 3 of the DLLs there. The Extensibility Framework DLL is a common component that always gets referenced. Web Services DLL contains the services and functions. Web Services Tools contains a utility that will manage the services for you. I'll also make sure to reference the namespaces of these DLLs in my code. For the dialog, I'll keep it simple. There will be a list box for displaying the files and a button to execute. Now, all I have to do is type up the action for the button. So I'll just type this up real quick. There, wasn't that quick? If you blinked, you probably missed it, but that's okay. I'll be going over this line by line. So notice at the top, I have my import statements, importing the namespaces from my referenced DLLs. Now you'll notice there are some errors. Visual Studio is complaining that it can't find Microsoft Web Services 3. That's referencing the Web Service Extensions component I was talking about earlier. To fix this, we need to add another reference to our project. If you've installed the Vault client, you should already have Web Service Extensions. If not, you'll have to go to the Microsoft website to get it. The DLL you want to reference is called Microsoft Web Services 3. So I'm still getting errors. This time it's complaining about system web services. So again, we add another reference to fix this. This reference is in the .NET section. And we just want to select the assembly that Visual Studio is telling us to select. It's telling us it can't find System Web Services, so we just select System Web Services from the dialog. We click OK. Now we have no errors. I'm going to compile and run this just to make sure that everything is okay. And again, we ran into some errors. In this case, the problem is that our project is using .NET 4. However, the assemblies we are loading in are .NET 3.5. So to fix this, we go to our projects settings. We go to the compile options, and we tell it we want to use .NET Framework 3.5. Okay, our build has now succeeded. Let's also run the program. Now what the program does is it will just go into the vault and it will print out all of the files that are in the vault. And this is what we expect to see. So now that I know that everything is working, I'm going to take you through this program line by line. I'll run this in debug mode. So the first thing we're doing is we're setting up credentials. This is a class that tells the web service manager what is needed in order to establish a server connection and make API calls to the server. So in this case, my credentials consists of 4 pieces of information. If you're familiar with Vault and the Vault login dialog, you'll know that there's 4 pieces of information that need to be sent. You need to know the username, the password, the server name, and the name of the vault that you are connecting to. So all 4 pieces of that information are being set up in this credentials object. So this is the server, this is the vault name, this is the username, and this is the password. Now I'm going to create a new web service manager, and I'm going to tell it to use these credentials when talking with the Vault server. The web service manager will take care of all of the login and setting up of the connection. All I have to do is pass in the credentials, and then I'm ready to use my web services. Now, you'll notice that the web service manager is inside of a using block. The reason the code is structured that way is because that's how I let the manager know when I'm done making web service calls, and then the web service manager will then log out at the end of the using block. Now, this application here is just for demo purposes. In a real app, you probably will not want to be logging in and logging out with each button click. You'll probably want to log in, stay logged in until your application shuts down, and that's when you're going to dispose of the web service manager. Also, in a real application, you're probably not going to be hard coding in the username and password either. You're probably going to want some sort of dialogue that the user can fill out. But continuing on. Now, once we're inside the user block, we are properly authenticated into the Vault server. And we're ready to read Vault data. Now, what I want to do is read all of the files in the Vault. And there's many approaches to doing that. I'm going to take the folder by folder approach. I'm going to start at the root folder and just cycle through all of the subfolders one by one, printing out any files I find. So here I'm using the document service to get the folder root. and then I have a function to print out the contents of that folder and any subfolders. So I'm going to read the files in that folder. If there's nothing in it, I just skip over. Then I go and find any of the child folders underneath that folder. And for each one of those, I'm going to recursively call my print folder function. If I do find a file, I add it to my list box. And that's the whole program. In just a few minutes, we were able to create a fully working Vault client. Not bad. Of course, this was a very simple app, but I find that getting the first program to work is always the hardest part.